62-24, the final score. Tennessee wins on the road, a wire-to-wire dominant victory over the Missouri Tigers. I'm Eric Cainer alongside Austin Price for this mini podcast. And Austin, this was a game that most of us had as a one-score game. All of us had Tennessee winning this game, but it was going to be close regardless. Didn't see it planning out this way, but Tennessee gets a very important win here on the road in the SEC.
Yeah, they do. 62-24, it was just a bludgeoning from the get-go. Again, Tennessee troubled and plagued with penalties and turnovers the first few weeks. Cleaned up the turnovers last week, stayed turnover-free today. They won the turnover battle 2-0. Penalties, much better today. It was Missouri, the team that was flagged a bunch, but Tennessee gashed Missouri on the ground. Everybody knew Missouri wasn't very good on at defending the run coming in. Ironically, the run defense looked like a high school unit, and we're looking at the video board here, and it looks like Missouri, based off the logo, is set to play Ray County in their next matchup. Just going off the logo, I don't know who they play. October 9th, 3 p.m. But it was like a high school defense there. I mean, it was like run defense on air. Yeah. Tyon Evans goes for over 150 yards. Tennessee goes for over 400 yards on the ground. Laneith Whitehead goes for 76 before, he kind of got banged up and had to come out. Jabari Small, I think, re-injured the shoulder. He didn't play after, the first couple of drives. And, it was just an impressive show on the ground. The offensive line did its job. Cade Mays was able to exit early, get him rest, keep him healthy. Just an impressive showing by the entire team. Tennessee's defense, for all the talk about Tennessee's offense in this one, they scored 62. Tennessee's defense only allowed 17. 7 points was off a kick return. So, kudos to Tim Banks and the defense for Missouri.
Yeah, no doubt. And I thought Tennessee, I'm glad you brought up the defense there because, the points, the highlights, all this stuff's going to be on the offense, once we leave here in Columbia. But, Tennessee's defense out some players today. Theo Jackson only played a little bit. Trayvon Flowers did not play in this football game. Tennessee was able to get Tamarion McDonald in there, Danico Slaughter in there, Christian Charles made the start. Juwan Mitchell did not play today, but minus some guys, I thought Tennessee's defense, and that was the concerning part. It was, you had faith that Tennessee's defense would make enough stops to win this football game, but really against Connor Bazelak and Tyler Beatty, they played a good game despite not having some key components out there. Yeah,
I thought they really did. You're exactly right. Tennessee did not get us home as much as I would like to see them get home, but I thought on the whole, Tennessee, held up, did plenty on defense. They, kind of bent but did not break most of the time. And, just a real credit to them. Even the last touchdown was kind of a garbage time fourth quarter touchdown, So, realistically, what they give up, 10? Yeah. 10 against, against the ones, with the ones defense out there. Tim Banks continues to impress me. If they can get some real horses in here, I think Tennessee's found themselves a really good defensive coordinator. And when you look back to the last 4 or 5 years, going back to when Bob Shoop was hired, Tennessee's defense has just really struggled.
Yeah, it really struggled, but it continues to impress me as well, and it put forth a great outing today. But again, we already mentioned to some all the attention is going to be on the offense. You put up over 60 points, it's hard not to. Hendon Hooker, as we said, got the start, came in, thought he looked sharp throwing the football, thought he made a couple of really nice throws. That one to Cedric Tillman here over the middle was a deal for dime. He had 4 total touchdowns, 3 through the air, only a handful of incompletions, had a rushing touchdown as well.
He did vulture a touchdown from Tyon Evans after Evans was ruled down at the 1.5 after originally being told he scored, which would have been his 4th touchdown.
But Evans was about to vulture that away from Laneith Whitehead.
That's right. You're right.
Let's not forget. But Hendon Hooker continues to show that not only is he the best option for Tennessee, but also he's been pretty dang good this year.
Well, he has. When once he's kind of moved into that role, outside of the one bad pick against Pittsburgh, show me where he's really played bad. Yeah. Okay, so he fumbled a couple of times trying to make a play with some extra effort. I would rather have a kid that does that than that is scared and plays timid. So, I agree. I think Tennessee's kind of found a little bit of rhythm here. They exit this game with some juice. I would venture to say that, that this will carry some juice in recruiting. When they make their recruiting calls this week, and you're calling kids and you say, hey, did you see that 62-24 win in SEC play?
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it would be like if you were here? We don't even have our own guys yet. These aren't even our guys. We're taking what the last staff had and what we inherited and putting up 62 points in the league. That's going to be the pitch, from this staff. Like, come give us a look. That's all we're asking. Come give us a look. They're going to call guys that are committed elsewhere. That's going to happen. They're going to call guys that, maybe aren't committed, that they're not committed elsewhere, but, haven't had Tennessee in their top list of schools. And then Tennessee's going to continue to recruit the Joshua Josephs and, the James Pierce of the world, and see what happens. So, I think that this gives Tennessee a little bit of a crack to maybe kind of come out of this funk in recruiting a little bit. Again, it's not like anybody's committing this week, but I think it gives you tangible proof to show to prospects, hey, look at what we've done through the first month of the season. I know it wasn't perfect, but we've really come along. We've improved a bunch. Just come give us a look. That's all Tennessee needs to be asking right now. Come give us a look.
The Cody Joneses of the world, the Jeremiah Caldwells of the world, the Walter Nolans of the world as well, just to name a couple more. But kind of wrapping a bow on this one, AP, as we head back to Neyland Stadium. South Carolina comes in. That's a game that we all said Tennessee would likely win preseason. I'm not changing my prediction now, but how much confidence did this team give you after what you saw today that, of course you'll have South Carolina, but then you got Ole Miss on the horizon. You got Kentucky later in the year, of course, Alabama and Georgia. What does a win like today do inside that locker room for this team?
Well, it continues to show that you're taking care of the business against teams you're supposed to beat. Tennessee's now won 8 of their last 9 against the likes of South Carolina, Missouri, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. Just a few years ago, outside of Kentucky, who Tennessee has traditionally just put a beat down on until the Pick 6 game last year. Missouri has had their success against Tennessee. South Carolina had a string of wins under Will Muschamp against Tennessee, and then Vanderbilt was winning that game way too often for anybody that's a Tennessee fan. So, they've won now 8 of 9 against these 4 teams. If you start to beat those teams, then you start to climb the ladder a little bit. And when you can climb the ladder a little bit, all of a sudden the next step is get competitive against Florida, Georgia, and Alabama, and then eventually win a game like that. So, I think that this is a game that, Tennessee takes a lot of confidence off of. Much like last year, Tennessee won that game in South Carolina. The guys that were here, they remember that. They'll carry that into next week against South Carolina. Tennessee wins next week. They're beating South Alabama, and they're beating Vanderbilt, who is lifeless at this point. So, that's getting them to 6. And then who knows? Again, as Rob pointed out on Twitter, and I thought it was a great observation, what's it say about Kentucky? They barely beat Chattanooga, and they barely beat this Missouri team that Tennessee clobbered today at Missouri. Not in Knoxville, at Missouri, 62-24.
In front of this just great game day atmosphere, I've got to say. That sarcasm, it was cold this morning, it was rainy, it was 11 o'clock local time, it was a tough environment for sure. But 2019, Tennessee ran the table against teams in games like that you're describing.
Yep. Won 3 or 4 last year.
Yeah, won 3 or 4 last year, now trying to get back on that train again here in 2021. But for the final time here in Columbia, Missouri, Tennessee 62, Missouri 24. The Volunteers return home for a date with South Carolina next Saturday at noon Eastern. For Austin Price, I'm Eric Kane here on VolQuest.com.